we settle on a site and move forward. I'm just kind of wondering if it would make sense to pull the soil logs from the COA. We know this area is relatively consistent, so if we, pull the soil logs from the COA construction and maybe the library and kind of triangulate what we have, that may, if it's consistent, I think that we can make a present assumption that the sites may not matter one way or another for the geotech, for selecting of the site.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I didn't have access to that information, but like I said, the geotech for this building was excellent.
Yes.
So.
And it is pretty consistent, so I don't mind. I can reach out to the Board of Health, I can reach out to the COA director. I know they have the plans and the reports, so I can at least pull the soil logs for the perk tests that were done at the COA, and I'm assuming that there was actual full geotech and analysis at a greater depth for the COA. So if we can pull that, maybe there is a slightly reduced, greatly reduced cost to send it to the geotech and say, this is what we have.
Yep.
I'm not a soils guy, so I wouldn't be able to analyze it, but certainly could bring the information back. Maybe he would be willing, or the entity would be willing to evaluate those logs and say, look, this is consistent enough that we can wait until we get a site selected. Nothing makes a difference whether it's here, or here, and then go forward with some more in-depth stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a good connection with LGC. I guarantee you would do that review if at no cost or very little cost to review the other reports and say it makes sense to.
Okay. Yeah. So with what Nate said, my thinking was that on the one hand, I know we have a good amount of data. I was thinking with the COA as well. And I know we have this, so that's pretty good. It's possible that when we have an architect on board, designer, they're going to want to do some test points. They're going to just be sure. But I would consider it probably more likely than not they're going to want to.
Their structural engineer will definitely.
Yeah, will want to. So there's no point in throwing good money after bad. If we have enough to try to basic concept, and especially, I know you're going to talk about this in item 3 for the Parks Commission, and under what circumstances we're prepared to move the Parks Commission. If what I think you're going to say holds, then there's probably no point in doing this now. It's probably better to have the architect on board and ready to go that, and just go that, be consistent with our route.
How's the rest of the committee feel about that?
Is there any efficiencies to be gained by looking at historical data for the different projects that we've had? Even like complying with what, like your logic there, is there kind of a happy medium?
I was actually, Chief, I was thinking that because we wouldn't have any soil data across the entrance.
Nothing over there.
So, but we do have a disrupted site being the demolition of the haunted house. So we already have a site that's clear. There's no tree clearing for borings. So, that may be the balance where we collect the data here, and we can do that really quickly. And then maybe schedule just a couple of quick borings across the street.
Or even just test pits, with an excavator. Yep.
Exactly. So I think we can save a lot of time and save the money.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Good. Yeah, that's why I dug into the previous one for this building, because if we can save the money, that would be my recommendation at this point. But.
Saving money is always the way to go.
I just think that, the architect, if we have a good sense of generally what the landscape looks like, then the architect starts to narrow it down a little bit. You'll end up doing test points in one location or two, but not all three. I think it's fine.
Okay.
And I'm sure a couple, just comments and questions. When I read through the quote, I didn't see, my past experience with this is at a certain location, you might have a series of borings that take down 30 feet, but there's always one at a given site that goes all the way down to refusal of bedrock.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised me that wasn't in here. I'm just thinking that once you get a drill rig mobilized, the extra footage to go down is worth it, because if you run into a geotechnical problem where you don't get the load bearing you need, chances are you're going to get it here.
Yeah.
But you're not bringing a rig back out to go say, okay, now we got to go down and find the bearing strata.
Yeah, I saw that too. There was no deep earth boring that you're talking about. And talking to the geotechnical engineer, he said for this upfront, you're really just learning to understand the soil characteristics. And based on that, you'd probably do your deep boring at the time when you're doing it for structural characteristics.
You know what the load factors are yet anyway. I mean, you have no idea what structural
exactly.
look like.
Yeah. So that's why there would definitely be more borings that would be done regardless. This was more of a proposal just to say we've looked at the the stratification at each site. And I think relying on what we have here, maybe the COA and the library is a great way to, kind of put this aside and not have to spend money right now and then spend that money on the structural portion of it.
The second comment I had is I didn't see anything here about doing any kind of chemical analysis on the soil. And I've never seen the borings for this building or over at the COA. I don't know if that was done back then, but another thing that's
I don't recall.
cheap insurance.
Yeah.
And what do you mean in terms of chemical testing?
Like, petroleum hydrocarbons, VOCs,
okay.
T-clip, all
Yeah.
the standard stuff that, I know the history for this site for 100 years has primarily been like a recreational thing, and
So any environmental testing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a 21E or something like that. Yeah, that wouldn't be part of this. That would be a separate consultant that, we would choose for one of those sites. It would also probably come under an LSP, licensed site professional too. So yeah, it would completely different scope, but yes, I would agree. We probably want to do that based on whatever site we pick.
Anybody else want to weigh in? General consensus to hold off from doing it now and, okay?
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll talk to the owner and just say we would probably have some more information on the other buildings, what would it be to just do a quick review of all the information that you have and give us a recommendation. So.
All right, excellent. All right, so on to number 2, update in the discussion on the architect RFQ reviews and interview scheduling. I believe that the RFQs are due in tomorrow into the select board's office at 3. Is that correct?
Two.
2. Okay.
Got 31 prospective bidders ask for RFQs.
Wow.
That's a lot.
We're not gonna get 31.
No, we won't. That's a lot.
That's a big number.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I've spoken to a bunch of architects that have told me they're submitting, so a lot of very qualified proposals I think we'll receive. I passed out what we typically use as kind of a review for the proposals that are coming in. This is just a draft that I wanted to pass out. So my plan would be to either tomorrow after they come in or Friday, I will pick up the RFPs and bring them here and sort them, and then I can let Christina know that they're ready to be picked up. I'll print out a bunch of these forms, leave them right inside there, so you don't need to print anything. Everybody can do their own reviews, and then we would meet back to go over the results. Probably the same process we did with the OPM.
Okay. All right, so you would do it you would put all these together outside of a meeting and then we would just come pick them up, or should we schedule a meeting?
I usually come and set it up outside of a meeting and
Okay.
then just notify someone, and you guys can come pick them up at will. I don't think we need a special meeting for it unless
Okay.
you want to do it differently.
No, we're good with that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I usually set up, if there's 10 packages, 15 of 10, and, everybody has their own, and pick it up and go.
Okay. All right, that works, and then, we'll take the time to review them and then, come back at the meeting and decide on our top 3.
Most likely, yeah. Sometimes the
We get
results
30
come in.
proposals.
Yeah, sometimes the results come in, and, maybe it's top 4, or maybe you only get 2 proposals, but yeah, that won't happen here. But,
Is there any interest in creating a Dropbox for this team so we can get those electronically?
we can do that. I think we asked for electronic set for each one. Yeah.
Usually it's, a lot of us, I know myself, I sit there with my laptop in the evening, it's a lot easier than, flipping through.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
Yeah.
We'll upload the thumb drives.
Yeah.
And we have a OneDrive
Yeah.
that we can send around, and absolutely.
Okay, great.
So we'll do both. You can pick up a hard copy, or you can look at it online.
Okay.
So we should talk about process. Your timeline to get ratings back to you guys. I assume you guys are gonna be tabulating the ratings.
Yep.
And then the other one to work it. I remember when we had things set up for the next meeting and all that, the timing wise.
I think the next meeting is the 13th.
That's pretty tight.
It was 13 or 14, yeah.
If we have, if we have 20 applications, it's gonna be a little crazy.
Yeah, because we had said, 9/6 at one point, but, I think, yeah, we,
Yeah, it's
at
the
the next
13th.
meeting, we pushed that back.
If that is gonna be tight, we could,
I'll defer to the group, I
Yeah.
just think that, for instance.
we could do either or the 13th or the 20th. We're flexible, so.
Madam Chair, so potentially we're looking at how many? 36?
Well, no, well, it won't be. Normally what happens is that we get a certain number of bidders come and ask for the bid materials.
Okay,
Doesn't mean they're all gonna submit.
all right.
31 asked for bid materials.
And nobody's submitted anything as of yet?
Not yet,
So
no,
they
we'll
wait
do
till
tomorrow.
the very last
Yeah.
possible second?
They'll all submit them tomorrow.
We'll send an email out to you guys, tomorrow, let you know how many there were total, just so you know.
My guess
Because
is,
I'm saying, if we're gonna look at 30 of them, I don't know how much time you guys have, but that's a lot of reading. I mean, it took us how long to go through all,
Five, yeah.
We had 5 of them?
Yeah.
It took us 2 months to come up with an answer for that, so.
What's your best guess is how many I'll actually submit?
at least
Yeah.
12.
Yeah,
12,
yeah,
I've
that's-
spoken to 6 that have called me just to confirm there's no like addendas or anything that I know we're gonna submit, so.
I think he's gonna need at least 2 weeks to review them, at least.
And the packets we're looking at is similar to what you guys.
Exactly the same, except it's for architects.
Yeah, I get it, yeah, so we're still, it's a lot of
It is,
documentation.
it's a
It
ton.
will be a
Yep.
lot.
We're just one big happy family, and we do this
Yeah,
together.
well, it's just.
Wait till we do pre-qualification.
I mean, if we're sitting in meetings doing it, it's one thing, but we're sitting,
Yeah.
we have to
On
do
our
stuff
own.
before the meeting, so, sitting in front of your laptop after all day to do that, it's a lot of reading. But okay, when are you talking about, what's
The
the
20th.
The
date?
next meeting is scheduled for for September 13th right now, which would give you 3 weeks.
I'm gonna be out of town that week.
Maybe push it out to the 20th? Does anybody have an issue with an extra week? Plus, you're gonna be out of town, you said, right? And I value your opinion.
So I don't recall now exactly what the schedule was, but we did have another meeting set up for the 28th. And I
Oh,
think,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a tentative.
That would have
There's a
been,
20
I guess that would have been interviews.
27th Wednesday.
Yeah.
so it was, we batted around a couple of days that
We
week, and
did.
we landed on the 28th because there was some conflicts, the 26th and 27th.
I would like to reiterate my initial thoughts when we started this group too, is to do a look ahead and get that second, fourth Wednesday, and just know, guys, we gotta nail this down. Because to constantly be looking at these schedules is gonna be really difficult.
Well, in that
Including
case,
booking
so
rooms.
by your reasoning, Nate, then, if we bag the 13th,
We go to the 27th
The
or the
28th,
28th in this
yeah.
particular case, but going forward, we really wanna stick with that second, fourth Wednesday.
yeah.
I think, with regards to the 4th, when I know we were talking about that, wasn't even thinking, I do have a meeting conflict that evening. I was fortunate to not have a meeting this month for the last Wednesday, so, but I do have a conflict on the last,
The 28th.
on the last Wednesday of
last
every
Wednesday.
month.
27th, so the 28th was the
Right.
tentative date.
Right,
Right, that's
Because-
on Thursday.
Okay.
So I still don't know where we're going to meet, but that's the date that we have scheduled right now.
yeah, 'cause
So
I,
maybe skip the 13th and just push everything out to the 28th. We don't have anything else really pressing other than this, so.
An occasional Zoom meeting is an option too. I'm not suggesting in this case, but I'm just
Right.
saying that's an option as well.
Yeah, I think once we have the architect selection kind of done, then we can get on that regular schedule, because we're gonna be,
Every other week.
yeah.
so, we're talking the 28th, the Thursday of the September, correct? So if we were to meet on the 20th so that we could identify the top candidates and go into the month of October with this kind of a set schedule, but try to get this done, I don't want to push it off another week if we don't have to, so that we can start to schedule interviews to get that piece done, because we really can't move any further and forward unless we have identified an architect. So
That's true.
I'd like to see us, if we can, let's schedule the meeting on the 20th at 6:30, and Christina will let us know where. And then, when we get to that other agenda item for the future dates, let's really try to lock it in so that we can, I'd like to be able to meet here. I know, LakeCAM has approached me and had said that they really would like to make sure that they, because of the importance of, you know, what it is that we're trying to accomplish here, that they'd like to get the information out to the public, for their, you know, viewing pleasure, so that they can keep up to speed with where
But
we
I think
are.
it'll increase our success rates too.
Yeah.
You know, by letting people understand the process and that it wasn't, you know, the process is not whimsical, it's thorough, it's detailed.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important.
So the objective on the 20th is to have everybody's ratings. in
Well,
terms
I
of
would
who
like
the
to-
top interview candidates are gonna be, right?
Right, but the 20th, we'll discuss, you know, we'll identify who the top 3 are, and then
Right.
we'll go through whatever our questions will be, if you can put that together for us. I would say, how long would you need to compile all of our,
If you can get it to us a day or two before, your rating sheets, you know, we can compile it.
We should do the Friday before.
the 15th, September 15th?
Yeah,
would be-
the Friday before, yeah. It won't take us too long to compile it. So yeah, if you're not gonna be here, you can get us your scores, and
Take it
then,
with me and get it done.
and then we can at least have your ranking, and if there's, and I guess if you're, to anybody that's not gonna be here too, if you wanna discuss it with us, or you have any strong feelings about anybody, please reach out, send us an email, and we can take, you know, your thoughts to the meeting.
So we'll get them turned into you by the 15th, your
That's
office?
perfect, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Okay, so ratings were due the 15th. We're gonna cancel 9/13
Yep.
and 9/28
Yep,
and schedule 9/20.
correct.
And then do you want me to start scheduling the second Wednesday starting in October?
I think the next meeting would be interviews.
So that would be the, whatever the second, which is,
The 11th is the second Wednesday.
the 11th.
Which is, that's fine, I think that gives 2 weeks from
You
notification.
give the architect a little bit of time to prepare,
Yeah.
so that's fine. Yeah.
So the 11th would be our next meeting, we could do interviews.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
You went through those dates with me one time.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
oh,
Yeah.
I'll talk after.
9:20, 10:11, and then 9:15 for the submittals. Okay. Well, I guess we can scratch out agenda item number 5.
Not gonna meet this week, week of the 28th.
No.
Interviews on the 11th of October.
and I'll update all the schedules.
And the other thing we can do too, Christina, and I can work with you on this, is take a look at what the availability is with this room, you know, or check with Kristen, and then we can come back to the committee, and maybe we'll have other nights that would be able to fit in nicely with everybody's schedule.
If I remember correctly, and Nate, I think you were actually the one that went through this initially, like that second and fourth Wednesday are the only nights that are available.
Pretty much, unless you wanted to do Fridays, and that's
Yeah.
really a junky day for a meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, we can keep that, and I'll see what I can do about my, you know, my meeting, and go from there. Okay, excellent, all right, so we're all set with that. Update on the meeting with the Parks Commission regarding proposed site locations. So, this is kind of interesting. So when we left the last meeting, Ari was going to talk to the chair, Melissa Turcott of the Parks Commission, to just kind of give her a heads up that we would be interested in meeting with them, just to talk about the fact that there was 3 sites that were identified in the feasibility study that fall on park land. And so I did have the conversation with Melissa, and I believe Melissa went on vacation, but somehow it got lost in translation, and it ended up on one of their last
I
meetings.
asked for dates of the meetings, the next thing I know, they set up a.
It was actually on the agenda, and Nate had reached out to me, and I had just gotten, you know, situated for dinner, and he says, did you realize that the Fire Station Building Committee was on the Parks Commission agenda tonight? And I'm
Was
like,
maybe
tonight?
you didn't forget.
Yeah. I'm like, did I forget something? I mean, could be fog in my head, but I said, well, I'm not getting dressed to go down there. So I watched the meeting, and they got to the part of the fire station building, and they're like, is there anybody here? There was nobody there. They're like, well, Lorraine wouldn't, you know.
I was on
schedule
vacation
time.
at the time, yeah. So.
Yeah.
I've never been to a parks meeting ever.
So anyways, we cleared up the confusion, and, you know, I had reached out to Christina, and so we'll be getting on their agenda. So, I don't know when they're meeting next, but I'd like a full complement of the board, if we can, all attend, because I'd like to be, you know.
Did you want to do that before the architects on board or after the architects on board?
Whenever the parks is meeting.
I have their dates. I have their dates.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have their dates. One second.
I mean, at this point, all we're really looking for is a blessing to, you know, look at the sites, you know, maybe do some work on, you know, some investigations on the site, right?
Yeah.
Got the dates?
So where are we? It's the 23rd. So their September dates are the 7th and the 21st, and their October dates are the 5th and the 19th.
And we don't know when we're on their agenda for which meeting.
We haven't
We
asked them.
never asked them for a date. Because I was, when you and I spoke, I thought that we decided was that we were gonna wait till the architect was on board. If we want to do it sooner than that, then we can.
Well, I think that we'll be circling back, because I'd like to at least get the preliminary conversation going with them to.
My only concern about that, and it's good, is fine, but is that we need to be very clear with them when we come to them about, they're gonna ask a lot of questions about what it's gonna look like, what's it gonna, what, you know, that kind of, I'm not gonna be able to tell them any of that.
Right.
And, you know, I'd rather go into a meeting with information prepared than not, which is why, you know, my inclination, what we're gonna do is that we wait till we have the architect on board, have some concepts, some ideas and concepts because of that. Because we really don't know what we want is the right kind of fit. And I'd hate to see a repeat, for example, what happened with Board of Health, you know. I'd rather go with more information than less. But that's fine.
I'm just in terms of thinking that it's more of, you know, a professional courtesy to the Parks Commission, before we go any further about, you know, doing any more, you know, work or anything on park land without having them, you know, at least have the conversation with us.
Okay.
And you're right, there could be questions, you know, that come up, and, you know, just working on it, but I do understand where your concerns are with that too.
I definitely meet with them before the drill rig shows up on site.
Yeah, I do think there's benefit in including them early because I think it's more, I'm not gonna use the term ego, but it's paying respect to their authority, you know? I don't think it's detrimental.
All right, so, does anybody have any availability?
What dates again?
9, 7, 21.
So 9/7, 9/21, and then October 5th and October 19th.
So they meet every other week.
Pretty much.
What time do they meet at?
7,
7 p.m.
I believe so, yeah.
If it's Thursdays, I'm always open on Thursdays.
7th, I'm still away, so I wouldn't be able to attend.
Third Thursday of the month is fire department drill, so.
That's the 21st. I'm away on the week of the 5th. So, what did we say, the 19th?
drill night.
So that's the second Thursday. Is everybody available for that night?
So it's drill night, right?
Well,
You
I
said
don't-
the 3rd, right?
I don't have to attend drill. I
Oh,
have
that is
plenty of
the
people who
19th
don't.
is the 3rd, yeah.
I don't have to attend drill, so that's a possibility.
Yeah,
for me.
that's the only meeting I could do this instead.
It's all for the same cause.
Exactly.
October 19th, is that what we're saying?
We can either do September 21st, but we're meeting on the 20th.
Yep.
So,
21st works for me.
That works for me.
It's gonna be a fun week that week, you know, we got board meeting that week too.
yeah,
It doesn't work for us, but,
Okay.
If you wanna hold it, that's fine too.
I think we need to have
you need to
RPM
be
there.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. We have our 20th anniversary party, so I can't cancel that.
My calendar's open for that as well.
Yeah, we can be there.
Well, what's the plan? I mean, at this point, we've been working with you for 20 years.
Yeah, I
All right, so let's go in for the 19th.
October 19th.
Yep. Costumes are optional.
And that's 7 p.m. 7 a.m. Excuse me, 7 p.m. Hope it's not 7. I don't have to prefer 7 a.m. actually.
Would you like me to reach out to Melissa?
Please.
Madam Chair, I got one question. We talk about 3 sites in this property at the park. My understanding is they're really talking about 2 sites. And the building oriented different ways
Yeah,
on the
that's
same
correct.
site, right? So I
Pretty
just want
much,
to make sure that's,
yeah.
my understanding is
It's
correct.
Here, over here, right, if I'm not mistaken, like right here.
Yeah.
And then a little further down, right where the haunted house is, right in front of that.
Yep.
And then over by the Council on Aging, on this side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But these two are very close to each other.
And I think it would probably be beneficial too. I think there's the map from the feasibility that we could preliminarily get done too, you know, or to prepare for the meeting, so that they have something visual to look at as we're discussing it.
Was the square footage of the property on there? All 3 lots that they recommended? Is that gonna be a difference as far as plans go, if they're different sized lots?
I think it's one big lot, right, over it, but whatever we would section off for what we would need.
Yeah, I don't know what the size of these lots are, so that's
That's
my
part of my
question.
point, the configuration, so it's gonna look different.
Yeah, they're all gonna be different depending on which lot you choose. And also the design of the building can vary depending on the size of the lot you choose. I forget, there's actually a formula for a fire station, how much acreage you need per square foot. I forget that, there is a formula for that. For the ideal area you need for, you know,
Acre for every 5,000 square feet.
thank you, I knew there was, for every 5,000 square feet, you need an acre of land, so.
Times 3.
That's 3.
Well, that's it, we're building time.
Oh,
Of upland.
Ah,
Right.
all right.
Great.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
just real quick, do we know if LakeCAM started taping or recording this, just for the record?
Not sure. LakeCAM.
LakeCAM?
We are in fact recording.
Okay.
It has been recorded.
So we should mention that, right, with that.
Oh, for the record, LakeCAM is now, or has been recording this meeting probably for the last 15 minutes or so, but for the record. All right, so the next item on the agenda is discuss natural heritage considerations. And I know Nate and, Ari probably have been having some conversations about what we've done here in the past, so I'm gonna, pass it on. Maybe Nate, you can fill us in a little bit about.
I can kind of touch upon it a little bit.
Jump in too.
Yeah, well, Taylor, myself, and Mike O'Brien met with Brian Madden last week, right? It was
Yeah, last week.
last week. Went over the site, sent him the 3 different locations that the fire station may be put on the park's property. We provided them with all of our previous permits through Natural Heritage. Generally, is a high-level overview of it, is Brian thought that we would probably be okay with any of the 3 sites. He was going to put together a proposal and phase that proposal to say initial proposal will be site evaluation, contact with Natural Heritage. make sure they don't have a preference. If they do have a preference, to prioritize the 3 different sites, just for something to go forward. But he did, in fact, think that we could do any of the 3 locations. It was brought up, and we saw it here at the police station. There is mitigation associated with natural heritage. Typically 1.5 times the land usage or 1.5 times the property value. So when we're looking at that, we'll have to start evaluating town properties, see what would be viable for a natural heritage deed restriction, conservation deed restriction, see what we can mitigate those parcels with. So it's really good to get in front of it. We've made contact. We'll start opening the dialogue with natural heritage. We'll get that ball rolling. It's great that we got that going. So we should see a proposal probably within a week or so, Taylor, something like that. Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the interesting things that Brian brought up, and Brian was the one that did all the LSP work, licensed site professional work, and natural heritage work for this building. He was going back through the permit, and he found a clause in there that is not typical to many permits that they see that go through natural heritage, that the permit is actually open for a period of 15 years. So it might make things a lot easier at this site, whichever site we choose on the camp, because it's really more amending the permit than starting over new. So he thought that was really favorable. He's like, wow, I forgot this was even in here. So that was good. It's good to hear. He says he never sees it like that. The first go around, it was great that somebody put that clause in there to keep it open. So it was interesting. Yeah, we weren't expecting it.
So, Madam Chair, can I follow up with Nate, because for those that are listening, and more importantly, me, because I have a clue what you were just referring to. So help me understand, so natural heritage, so any land we use, we have to give back at a certain percentage, another area of land within the...
Yeah. So
perfect use of
natural,
land.
it's all right. I'm sorry, I should explain that better. So natural heritage is part of the endangered species program. On this particular site, we're dealing with an eastern box turtle. All right, so they've looked at this property and deemed it priority habitat, so it's mapped under natural heritage. So when you use property within that natural heritage mapped area, there's a lot of things that need to be done. So there needs to be, if you are approved to go forward, there's site mitigation. There's turtle fence will need to be erected. It gets dug into the ground. Usually a survey group of biologists go in and scour the property that's going to be constructed on for turtles. If you find turtles there, you have to relocate them. I believe that you have to tag them. So there's a cost associated with that. That's if you get approval. So in order for the natural heritage to not take the property or take your rights to the property, you need to mitigate what you're going to use out of that habitat. Typically, the ratio they use is 1.5 times. So if we use 3 acres there, it's going to be 4.5 acres elsewhere that we'll have to deed restrict, never to be built upon. And that won't be afforded to already mapped area. So you'd have to find a piece of property in town that might make turtle habitat. I kind of joke with this, but it doesn't mean we got to, move the box turtles there. It just means you got to protect that for habitat. You got to put conservation restrictions on it and protect it. And if you can't find land that's suitable to habitat, you got to pay a fee, cost associated with it. So they would take land value of, in this case, 3 acres, and they'd charge you, 1.5 times.
Whatever, 1.5 times the rate of the
The
property.
value, yep.
And I'm assuming, so the property that has to, if we do a property exchange, it'd be town property, I'm assuming, but we're not taking eminent domain over this.
So what we did on the police station here, we were fortunate that a developer had done a rather large development a number of years ago, and there was a piece left over that was never developed. It ended up being in the tax title inventory through the tax collector's office. The previous town administrator reached out to that owner, and they gave it to the town in lieu of back taxes. They conveyed the land. It worked out well because it was a lot less money than it would be in another scenario. I believe it was not 100. It was around $7,500 was what they were back in taxes. So that we were able to acquire that land, transfer title, put the conservation restriction on it, satisfy natural heritage, it satisfied, the permit and the usage of this property. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else have anything for Commissioner Heritage? Thanks, Nate, very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so everybody received a copy of the minutes from June 21st. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Very succinct way to summarize a 4-hour meeting, I'll tell you that much.
Very good. Schedule the next meetings, we've already taken care of that. We'll continue to look for our slot on the calendar. I'd like to, going forward, I'm going to add a section in here for old business. I did hand out, or ask Christina to hand out, there was a letter that our Board of Health submitted to the select board, and I asked that, if the CC, the Lakeville Fire Station Building Committee on it as well. Because it had to do with the site location at the current location. So I'd like to read it into the record if I may. It was addressed to the Lakeville Select Board on July 10th, 2023, regarding the fire station septic system, and addressed to Chairman Day. At the Board of Health meeting held on July 6th, 2023, the Board of Health members voted to send a letter to the Board of Selectmen to clarify the Board of Health's position on the proposed fire station location. The current septic system at the Town Hall and fire station was sized for 570 gallons per day or 38 employees. The town of Lakeville is allowed to make expansions providing the flow of 570 gallons per day is not exceeded. The flow currently going into the septic system based upon the number of employees working there as of today's date was estimated to be 390 gallons per day, which equates to 26 employees. The difference of 180 gallons per day would allow for the addition of 12 employees. If the town wanted to expand beyond the 570 gallons per day, the Board of Health would be open to discussing options, providing that the expansion was needed due to public safety. If we have any questions, certainly to contact the Board of Health. I just thought it was important that we keep that with what's going on here for information. Okay. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? I want to know who's buying the ice cream. All right, 7:14.
The chairman's buying
The
this.
chairman.
No.
At our very last meeting, I will do so. 7:14, we're adjourning.